I don't know if you guys know Benny Johnson, but he is a paid Trump apologist to do whatever it takes. He was paid by Russia, literally millions of dollars, to continue to spread his propaganda effectively. And just listen to what he says here.
Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing.
You know, this is so. Do you know what he's talking about? He's talking about the tariffs. People literally losing their life savings, losing their retirement funds, losing everything. And he's like, people lose money all the time. What's the big deal? What are you complaining about?
Nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons actually by losing.
Builds character. You learn things by losing money. It's a good thing to lose money now. That's what he's saying when it comes to tariffs under Donald Trump. And what was he saying before Donald Trump was president?
It's bloody, 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 bloody Black Monday. Holy moly. The Kamala crash is here. Kamala needs to get in front of a camera today. People are losing their homes today. People are losing their fortunes today. People are losing their futures today. People are losing their 401ks today. This is shaping up to be one of the worst market days in American history.
Oh boy, wow. Can you stick your foot any further into your mouth? That is about as embarrassing as it gets. Holy shit, dude. We're going to take a look at Ben Shapiro's reaction to the tariffs because he is actually opposed to them, surprisingly. Well, right now, by the time this releases, 3 hours later, maybe he'll change his position. But we're going to take a look at what he said previously, at the very least. But I was wondering, and Ben Shapiro brings this up, what's the point of the tariffs? Why are these tariffs happening? And Trump kind of outlines the whole thing here.
In the history of our country. And don't let some of these politicians go around saying, because I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir. And then I'll see some rebel Republican, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate.
Totally. You don't negotiate like he negotiates. Anyway, the bottom line is Trump is doing this whole tariff thing to consolidate power. This is not even a surprise. This is how strongmen, fascists, dictators throughout history, certainly throughout the past 100 years, have consolidated power, create economics instability, and leverage that, take advantage of it to give yourself more power. Make people suffer. The United States citizens and foreign countries, the EU, France, and everywhere, India and everything, make them suffer and tell them, I will make you stop suffering if you do what I want. Give me, donate 2% of your GDP to the Trump Foundation or whatever. It's better than paying 40% tariffs. This is him consolidating power, and he's being pretty obvious about it. Anyway, I just want to listen to a minute or two of Ben Shapiro talk about his take on the tariffs. Again, his video here, it released on April 4th, 2025. I don't know what his position is as of April 5th, 6th, 7th. I don't know. It's probably changed. But he is, at this immediate moment, criticizing the tariffs. So I want to hear what he has to say. Give this a listen.
As I suggest, tons of economics news breaking. Yesterday, of course, was a horrifying day in the stock market. And people who are attempting to play this game where they say, well, the stock market taking a massive dump, that's okay. I mean, that doesn't, 50% of Americans have stocks. Okay, because they have 401ks. This notion that Main Street is totally disconnected from Wall Street, that it's just a few people at the top of the food chain who are playing with the money, that is not actually true. And
by the way, the algorithm is hitting me hard right now, completely ignoring me. So I'd appreciate if you watch to the end of the video. Having increased watch time as a percentage and a raw number is what pushes the video further. Also, check out my books, owenmorgan.com. All right, back to the video. He's correct here. It's not. That does not represent reality in all seriousness.
Any way, shape, or form. And obviously the stock market, as a sort of gauge of investor confidence, makes a large-scale difference in availability of liquidity for startups, and being able to raise money to, for example, hire new people.
Oh my God, yes. Like the stock market tanking, I'm completely unaffected because I don't own any stocks. My kid got a scholarship, $1,000 scholarship from FFRF when she was younger for opposing what West Virginia health teachers were doing, specifically her health teacher, in teaching sex ed as like abstinence only and you gotta love Jesus or you're not a holy person and all this other shit. The whole town attacked us. We brought it, all the way as far as we could legally, and we had to move. We had to leave. And FFRF gave my kid $1,000 scholarship for doing that. Some anonymous donor actually did that through FFRF. And I deposited that into a 529, and I've been putting money into it every month, for years now. So that's pretty much the only like asset that I own outside of just like normal items or money or whatever. So I'm completely unaffected by this. And even the 529 is unaffected, honestly. Like, apparently 529s are an incredibly secure way of investing. And I think it drops $30 total. I think it's up to like 6,000 right now or something. The point is, many, many, many people are affected by the stock market. But even me, who's not affected really at all, is still affected. I am still massively negatively affected through like price increases, through inflation and things like that, through an economic downturn generally. We're entering a recession, the likes of which the United States has never seen, maybe. Pretty fucking bad. So we'll see how it goes.
If the stock market tanks by half, that's a pretty good indicator, for example, that bad things are happening. And if the stock market continues to gain steadily, that's an indicator that maybe some good things are happening. And this isn't too tough. It's not too sophisticated. Doesn't mean that every time there's a little bit of a sell-off, it's the end of the world. And it doesn't mean that every time there's a run-up, that means that amazing things are in the brewing. What it does mean is that ignoring data is not, in fact, a good form of analysis. The stock market does provide data, and in fact, we have lots of it. Investors have been shaken by President Trump's tariff regime. They're not sure what to expect. They're not sure what comes next. There are a lot of conflicting messages coming out of the White House. So yes,
there aren't conflicting messages. There's nonsense coming out of the White House. There isn't. It's not even like there's a cohesive message or there isn't a cohesive message. It's like everything that they're saying is just trash and contradicts itself. Instability and uncertainty are like a death rattle for any economy. Uncertainty is a bad harbinger. Uncertainty will destroy an economy. Even if the economy is strong, uncertainty will make a huge mess out of everything. You do not want uncertainty.
Yesterday, the U.S. market suffered its steepest decline since 2020 on fears that President Trump's new tariff plans would trigger a global trade war and drag the United States economy into a recession, according to the Wall Street Journal. Major stock indices dropped as much as 6% on Thursday. Stocks lost roughly $3.1 trillion in market value. That is their largest one-day decline since March 2020. And of course, March 2020 was COVID. And this is not being inflicted by an external shock, like, for example, COVID. This is being inflicted by a deliberate choice by the Trump administration. In a little while, I'm going to try and steel man the Trump administration's position.
I appreciate steel manning. That's valuable in my opinion, but there is no logical, reasonable explanation for this outside of he's simply trying to get more power. That's it. That's what it boils down to. He's using it as a means to get power.
Now, what's sort of the best case scenario for the thing that they are shooting for with these tariffs? The market this morning, again, opened down very steeply. Investors obviously are not sanguine about the situation. There was a good jobs report that came out for March. The employment report came out at 228,000 jobs added in March, which was more than forecast. Of course, that is a backward-looking report. So it didn't have a massive impact on the markets today because people are saying, well, yeah, I mean, the economy was doing fine. And then Donald Trump decided to take a giant stick and stick it right in the bicycle spokes. That is what the market is saying right now.
Pretty much.
Now, again, that data came as a bit of a surprise because economists were expecting it to be a little bit slower. This came amid a federal jobs decline. So normally this would be like a point of giant celebration for the Trump administration. Jobs increase, federal jobs go down. But the problem, of course, is that policy just radically changed. So looking at the jobs report based on a time when there were not these sorts of tariffs, that is not comparable to what is going to happen next. So investors are freaking out. The Wall Street Journal quotes a man named Rob Citrone, a 60-year-old hedge fund manager, watching from his Orlando, Florida home as President Trump announced his plans. He says, "I should have sold more." Across Wall Street, money managers, brokers, bankers were reeling from what many described as an unprecedented shock, fearing it marked an end to the market's post-COVID rally. They might have lived through a bigger market swing, but this one, induced by a U.S. president bent on establishing a new paradigm for global trade at the expense of both rivals and allies, felt incomparable because it was the result of deliberate policy.
One thing that Ben Shapiro aptly points out is that this whole situation, like what Trump is doing right now, could accomplish what he wants, which is, it seems pretty obvious to me, to get people to enrich him and give him power. It could do that, but it really depends on the actions of other countries. Like, our fate is now in their hands. Are they going to cut us out of their supply chain? Because, China produces a lot of the shit that we produce, but people come to us because it's cheaper or it's more convenient or because we're close allies or whatever, a billion different reasons. Are they going to cut us out of the supply chain now? If they do, what Trump is doing right now is just hurting us. There is no deeper thought into this. There's no deeper we could get a win if we do this or that. It's just hurting us. That's it. So anyway, about as disturbing and ridiculous and stupid as it gets. And all I can say is start stockpiling toilet paper. For real. People were panic buying toilet paper forever ago when it was unnecessary. It might be necessary now. Tell me what you think about it in the comments.